Hi guys, so today we'll be covering EtherRock's in the second episode of the Glyph. The rocks have been kind of a staple in the Ethereum ecosystem for a long time. They're, a project that was deployed, the contract was deployed in 2017. And most recently there's been, a lot of activity on the contract. There was a recent 160 ETH sale. So, it kind of come back to the foreground. So I went, digging, looking for, trying to kind of look for interesting narratives around the contract and around the project. And, I found a few things that I thought were interesting. I thought it's appropriate to share that with you now. Before we get into those details, I'm gonna just jump back and just give you an overview of why I'm doing this show. I was listening to Bill Simmons. He has a podcast that covers sports, and the Bill Simmons brand, comes from a deep appreciation and enthusiasm towards sports. And this is the goal of this show and the Glyph, right? I want to teach people how to appreciate on-chain transactions and appreciate provenance, and try to show why this matters and why this provenance is amplified as time passes by.
Digital artist People, the final bid, $69 million.
Oh my God, only make money because some other sucker lost war.
Have fun staying poor.
It amazes me that anybody is buying into this.
They are decentralized Ponzi schemes.
The only thing that you have to show is Ponzi schemes. It's all bullshit.
So EtherRock, the contract was deployed 2017. They have just one note that if you look at, so this is the deployer. If you look at, there was actually a Genesis EtherRock contract that was deployed before, and there was a bug in it. And if you can see here, so the Genesis contract was deployed at 1 a.m. and then the one we know was deployed at 6:24 p.m. So the same day. There's a lot that happened in between here, a lot of mints. There's a lot of people who value the Genesis EtherRock, but I'm not gonna get into that. I did not dig into. I just dug into the second, the one we know. So deployed, and they have there's a website, very simple project. It's not an ERC20 or an ERC721. This is just a contract that keeps track of these token IDs, of these IDs actually, and then who owns them. And the only way you can buy or sell these IDs is via this interface they've built. They also created a wrapper contract later, which wraps your token ID, which wraps your your ownership of that EtherRock into an ERC721, so you can take it to other marketplaces like OpenSea and Blur. They also have this Twitter account. It just tracks, because there's no way to really track unless you go on the contract. So this Twitter account basically tracks EtherRock floor prices and recent sales. So this is the latest post, January 15. The floor is around 200 ETH, and the last sale was 160 ETH, which happened on the 9th of Jan. So which kind of piqued everyone's interest. So going to the contract itself, this is once upon going through the transactions. I can just filter by just want to see the sales, and first sale happened 9:45 p.m. and this was 0.1 ETH. Ethereum was $675, and you can see here people kind of buying rocks. And I'm gonna just scroll through to show you just how this propagated. So if you can see, let's just go 2017. That's when it first started, and then you had a few buys in 2018, and then 2019, which is kind of the peak of the bear. There was only 2 sales. I think ETH was around $100 at this time. And then something happened. So on March 12, 2021. There was this wallet that came in, and he just bought 6 rocks, and that kind of triggered a flow of buys right after that. This was still very early before the bull started, or just the beginning. And I was just curious to see what this person did with his rocks, as I think it's a pretty important point in rocks. Like what made him decide, after the contract has been pretty silent for over a year. Just curious on what made him kind of jump on and buy these rocks. So I'm just gonna jump onto his wallet here. I'm going to filter through. It's easy to filter through contracts on WhatsApp. You just put in the contract and you can see all the interactions. So you can see here he bought 6, and then in August he started selling them. He bought them in March. First was sold for 30, second was sold for 45, and the third was sold for 96. So that's like 170 ETH flip, and Ethereum was around 3,200 at the last sale. If he just waited actually a bit longer, he would have sold it for much more. But still, that's a a nice flip of 170 ETH. That's almost $500,000. And one interesting thing that I kind of came across was the second rock he sold, which was Rock 21. He sold it to Arthur Hayes. I don't know if you guys know Arthur Hayes. He's this famous person in the industry. He was one of the co-founders of the first crypto exchanges, which was later shut down by the DOJ and fined. He never did any time or anything like that. But I think he's a very important person in the industry. He writes essays. He has he writes really, really nice essays that I always follow up and read on. His views are very intriguing and eye-opening in many ways. So I thought it was pretty cool that he owns a rock, and I think he still owns it. So he never sold it. So he still owns this rock, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that was a nice flip. And then I think he continues to hold the other three. So already he's still in massive profits. So let's go back to the EtherRock contract. Let's go through the sale. So this was again March, and remember I said he triggered like a flow of buys, so everyone started buying. We go through March, and then there was a few buys in April and a few buys in July, and then things started heating up in August. And you're going to scroll through, and these are all the sales, and you can see the floor kind of rising as the sales kind of increased, and then things got really heated, like the tail end of August. You can see here we're at 70 ETH now, the sales, and this is when kind of this hit mainstream media, and people were posting about it, and your normie friends were asking you about these rocks. So this was around this time, and there was 3 massive sales. This was the biggest one. It was a $3 million sale. I mean, the seller. This was the seller. Let's see how much his flip was. So he bought it for $250 August 22, sold it for almost $900 August 28th. I mean, that's a ridiculous flip. And again, sometimes we look back at these opportunities and think, wow, a lot of people made a lot of money, and that's why there's so much money in the industry and so much money in the ecosystem, because there was some really amazing flips that happened. And this buyer, I was always curious to see if the buyer kept the rock. So he actually bought 2. He bought this one first. He bought Rock 70. I think he tried to get a loan on it on NFTX, but didn't end up doing that. I'll double check on that. And then he bought this one for roughly $3 million at the time. And I think he's still holding. He actually wrapped the other one, number 70, and with the wrapper contract, just so he can probably sell it on OpenSea or other marketplaces. So really interesting. No ENS, so can't really identify who this is. Hopefully we will soon. And the second large transaction that happened was this one right here. So the 790. And if we go through, you can see. So this is the seller. I mean, the seller is someone who's still on chain. So very early into Ethereum, 2017. I guess he got well rewarded for being early, and he bought 3. He actually bought 3 rocks. Sold the first, like this is a quick flip. So August 4, August 5, he sells 2 for 9 and 8. And then he waits a month and he sells the third one for 790. And if you look at the first one he actually sold to this wallet, who is probably the owner of this wallet is, I don't know if you know her, Meltem. She's again a big crypto buff investor, and significant rock number, because it's rock number 69, and I think she still owns it. Let's double check. She tweets about rocks a lot, so that's why. Sorry, it's this account. Still owns it. The way I was able to find, so Once Upon has this cute feature, which is neighbors. So you can see wallets that have, a neighbor is a wallet that has kind of sent and received a transaction from another wallet. So there's been 10 interactions where, there was back and forth between this wallet. So usually any wallet here is pretty much associated in a way where you can assume that the same person controls all these wallets. So we can jump back to the contract and go through the sales. You can see here there's a lot of sales kind of died down a bit after that. The floor price kind of hit the 70s before again gaining some steam in the past few weeks. And the latest one was this 160 ETH sale. I mean, there were people saying that this might be a wash trade, but I was looking at some of the wallets. I mean, it could be. This is a fresh wallet that got loaded. The wallet that received the ETH that sold. It's a fresh wallet that loaded ETH and then bought it at 120 on the 8th and then sold it 160. So it could be. And then they actually swapped for USDC and then bridged to Arbitrum. So I don't know. And the buyer actually is just a fresh wallet that was created on the 9th. So, and this is where it got funded. And there's like this big rabbit hole of how this wallet is funded. It's not a typical kind of user with an identity that you can kind of link back to an OpenSea. So it's one of those, wallets that you have to jump through, multiple hoops to get to see where it came from. So could be a wash rate, but still, I think there is value in these rocks, and I truly believe there will continue to be value in the rocks, just because of how early they were and how the contract is structured. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed this. And subscribe and follow me on Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube, and for more episodes to come. Thanks.